And welcome to the Big Gunner Podcast. Okay, week away from rookies and free agents getting into camp at the 15th, and then the 22nd is the whole roster gets in there. So it should be very interesting. Couple of weeks coming up, camp gets started, the vibe, the energy, everything gets going. So should be a really exciting time. So last week, a little bit of news, a couple things. Odell Beckham made a pitch that the Fanatics, I think we talked about a little bit last week. Doesn't look like anything will come out of that. Giants not interested in grabbing Odell Beckham in to close out his career, whatever's left of it as a Giant. But also Jason Pierre-Paul's looking for a little comeback and is interested in coming back to Big Blue, which could be interesting, although we're kind of stacked on the defensive line. But a veteran presence for small money might be something the Giants should look into. Maybe an injury happens or whatever, but we don't hope. Obviously, we're not hoping for that. But our defensive line looks very, very solid, probably one of our best groups. Kind of overrated, as we stated a little bit last week, but we need to fix things before we put out that we're in the top three D lines in the league, but potentially we sure should be. But it should be interesting. And then probably a more interesting part of the whole week was a trade we made with the Miami Dolphins. So I guess Darren Waller wants to play football right now, and because of what we've done with the tight end situation, we're kind of really not interested in bringing him back. I think I go back to the stories that and comments I got from friends of mine in Las Vegas who are Raider fans that said to me they were happy to see him go because after he got hurt, he wasn't really focused on rehabilitation. He was fully distracted to other things, and it, along the same lines happened to us here in New York, and we gave up a third-round pick for him. So it looks like the deal really wasn't a great deal for us. We got the pick back for the receiver. I forget his name, but anyway, he's still out there in Kansas City, but we're drawing a blank. I guess he made that good of an impression on me. But yeah, so really, Darren, Waller trade is interesting that we might get a 6th-round pick for it. Should he come down here to Miami and produce a little bit? So very interesting. But I think what really also news out of the tight end camp is Travis Kelce had some nice, good things to say about our 6th-round pick Fedone out of Nebraska. 6'6", 240, can run, block. Another guy that, maybe a little bit of an upgrade from Bellinger. We'll see, though. Daniel Bellinger had a lot of high hopes when he came out of San Diego State and played well in his first year. Kind of been in the middle, but we also have a lot of development and big talk about Theo Johnson. There was a clip out there put out by, I believe, Dan Shire, who put out that, every target of Theo Johnson. And it looked like a lot of his targets that didn't make it to completions were on Daniel Jones, not on our guy. So let's see what happens. But, these are the tight ends important positions as we move forward, into this camp to see what we can get development. And then, of course, we're talking about, the big story to me is going to be the health of the offensive line, development of John Michael Schmitz. So, I was listening to a couple preseason reports and prognostications on the Giants for the season. Greg Cosell was on one who does a great job at ESPN on the NFL Matchup Show. Talks about all the quarterbacks. Was talking about the Giants quarterback room as being a very intriguing room, which we all know was addressed, pretty seriously by our front office in the offseason, bringing in Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, who looks like he's the week 1 starter, and then trading up into the first round to get Jackson Dart, who was a guy, I guess, we were talking about this, but thought at 3 would be a thought for the Giants. Instead, we get Abdul Carter, arguably the best player in this draft, and along with Jackson Dart, and really only give up a 3rd-round pick in the following year, to me, was a pretty good move for the Giants. So if we can have a draft like last year and create some depth, I really think this team has got a path moving forward in a very positive direction. I've been thinking this every year, and it's hard to go against what we do here and being a passionate, diehard Giant fan. But I'm pretty reasonable and objective thinking when I watch these games, if you gamble on them or do whatever, that what we are to do. But I feel really positive. Going back again, I've said this numerous times to my 84 season where we had 2 division games to start the season. At that point, they were both at home. These are 2 big games on the road. But I just think if we can pull out a game, one of those 2 games, I think it's going to be a good start for the season. An 0-4 start could start the desperation, the fan base looking for Brian Dable and Joe Shane's head. I don't see it this way. I hope John Mara gives him a little time. I think he was right in the decision to keep these guys around. But this is going to come down to, um, in my opinion, to really where it's going to come down to where are we? Do we have depth? How can we just sustain injuries? But if we could stay healthy, I think we have a chance to be competitive and challenge some people and maybe play a little bit of spoiler in our division. So those are the things that I see really, mainline as far as getting the season. Again, we like to find some depth with these young guys getting in there a week early, find some late picks or some free agents that will make the club. I don't know about the seventh round corner at Oklahoma State, but I do know that I think if Fedone actually looks like he could be a player, it's going to probably go to Daniel Bellinger because Chris Manhertz is probably our inline blocking tight end. It's going to be between Fedone and Bellinger for the third tight end because I think they like Manhertz, and I think Theo Johnson they're expecting big things from. So, we're going to have to see. Does this team keep four tight ends? It's hard with the rosters the way they are. Probably one of those guys would probably be on the practice squad if they want to stay a Giant. I believe if it's Bellinger, he might go look somewhere else to play football. I don't know, but I like the depth at the tight end position. Even though I liked we had the potential of Darren Waller, it just didn't seem to work out, and I like that we got some value for him. So, I think there's some interesting moves to be made, but did have a little bit of share a little quick story. I'm going to share an old story and then a quick story with you. The quick one is I heard some comments made, and I didn't realize it was Carl Banks making the comments about Micah McFadden. And don't get me wrong, I like the player. If I had to look at a spot that we'd want to improve on this defense at this particular point, when you look at it, it probably would be him. Maybe Banks, but I think with Phillips there, it's not. I think the real position player, and Banks is a big fan of him. I just always thought that he missed tackles in space, and I thought that on contact, he seemed to go backwards a lot. And I think at this point, when you're looking to save a 3rd and 8 to a 3rd and 3, I think it's very important that you be good in space tackling one-on-ones on the outside, which is where these middle linebackers have to go sideline for sideline in that 5-yard radius in the run game and maybe in the short passing game to make tackles. And Drew Phillips will be a part of that. He plays our inside nickel, when we get him. But I think we're going to need to see improvement out of Banks. But if I had to look at a place of upgrade, I thought it would be McFadden, and I got hammered for it. A lot of people, and Banks was really after me. And I said, look, I'm a fan. I'm not trying to say this. I'm just looking at what I see in the eye test. Yeah, he's created turnovers. He's made some big plays. 12 tackles for loss is high for a linebacker, as Carl pointed out to me. I'm just kind of thinking that if I had to pick a weak spot on our defense, that might be it. But I'll see to be corrected. I'll try to engage a little bit more, maybe get more out of Carl Banks to see that. I was a huge fan of his play. He was the number one pick when I was my season as an assistant equipment manager. I enjoyed we became buddies. Always liked Carl Banks and made fun of him that as long as he wears blue, I even liked him when he went to Cleveland to play under Belichick. So I had some fun with that, a little back and forth and, try to create some kind of vibe. But that's going to be our thought process as we get into it, is where we are with McFadden. So next week we'll start camp and we'll have a little bit more content on upcoming weeks. And I just wanted to bring up one little thing that came to me today. Someone brought up a clip of a 1984 play where Lawrence Taylor made a huge sack and Eddie Hedden against the Dallas Cowboys at home in week 2, picked up a fumble and ran 82 yards for a touchdown. And the guy thought I was in the clip, hanging around with Hedden at the end of the clip, congratulating him for the touchdown. But I bring that point up because I think if you look at that clip, and it's on Big Blue VCR on Twitter, or on X, has that clip out there, as it's Andy Hedden's turned 65. I would go on record in saying, if we would have this conversation, that if the biggest play in Bill Parcells' coaching career, I would say that was it. And the reason for that is that we hadn't beaten Dallas in a while. We were up 14-0 and pretty much dominating. They had a goal-to-go play to possibly make it 14-7 and change the complexion of the game. And Lawrence made the hit, hadn't picked up the fumble, ran 80 yards. We ended up winning the game 28-7. I say that only because at that particular time, Brad Van Pelt was a holdout for more money, and we ended up trading him that week to Minnesota for Tony Galbraith, and he was at the game in the stands before we reported. And the reports were that I had heard that he was visibly upset that he saw that this team looked like they were ready to make that turn. And he said he wished he had been around for the Giants' turn and possibly been on gotten a ring if he had hung in there a little bit longer. His career was probably 8, 9 years in at that point. Who knows if he would have got it to year 12, but because of the holdout, Giants didn't like that. People holding out that they felt that were expendable, and the Giants traded him to get at that point the highest. I mean the leading receiver for running backs in the history of the game, and Tony Galbraith, which is a good trade. Tony was a great guy, basketball player, a great athlete, a great addition to that team, and got a ring with us in the Super Bowl. But yeah, so it's that was just part of the play. When we made that play, that changed the turning point of that game, I thought led us to that 28-7 win. And I think got us to 2-0. And my comment to Bill Parcells was, I think you're going to be around for a long time, because leading into this, and he makes comments on this on some of the football life profiles, is that he makes comments that he didn't know what was going to happen because of the 3-12-1 season in '83, similar to what Brian Daboll's facing now, that he had to get off to a good start in '84. We had played like this team, 5 of 6 playoff teams to start that season in '84. So there's a lot of similarities I see. Both coaches coming off 3-win seasons. Daboll is at in year 4. Parcells was in year 2. But this could be the catalyst. I'm going to hope that it is, to maybe 2 or 3 years of Super Bowl appearance from now. But I think really the Giants drafted very well in '83. Got Leonard Marshall in that draft. Joe Morrison, I think, was in that draft also. And then in '84, we got Carl Banks, Gary Reasons, Jeff Hostetler. We had made some moves and got some players. Lionel Manuel, Bobby Johnson came in as free agents in that draft class in '84. And I think that led us to get better, a little more depth. And I'm hoping to see this with some of the free agents, and more importantly, this draft class coming off the last draft class in 2024, where we can kind of get some depth, be able to handle the injuries that occur, because we haven't been good at that over the last decade. And I think that's going to be the key component to where we go as far as the season, which, I can't wait. I'm telling everybody, I was with G. Defoe moments ago, and he was talking that someone was asking him about picking week 1 games. And I will tell you that week 1, I heard Adam Shine say the same thing. I like the Giants getting 6.5 down in Washington, with all the big expectations being on the Commanders, not so much being on the Giants, low expectations going into week 1, no one really giving us a shot. Very similar to the game where we were 5.5 point underdog in Tennessee, Brian Daboll's first game, which we stole a win down there in Tennessee. So I see some similarities with the season coming into the year I was there in '84. Parcells is week 83, starting his first season as head coach. Hopefully we can keep it going, and that's where we're going. So that being said, we'll get back to you next week on the Giants. A little bit about the gambling. We are watching Wimbledon right now. Rena Sabalenka is down a set, up 4-2 in the second. Surprisingly so to the 37-year-old Sigamon. Here's the thought with Sabalenka, my wife a huge fan. I just think that there's so much mental issues going on with these players today. There's so much pressure they put on themselves in these majors, social media, all that. Sabalenka seems to get distracted, overhitting, not making the right choices. I think it's in her mind. I think she's got all the talent in the world, big and strong, gifted athlete. I think she's got to get over this hump. Now, she's never made it to a semifinal in Wimbledon. She wins today. She does that. And she's right now, I would say, with only Andreeva and Swiatek in the other bracket, this is kind of paving a pathway for her to get to the final. But this is a very weird match. Sigamon being the oldest woman ever to make an Wimbledon quarterfinal, and she's struggling. I don't know if there's a live bet on this. I would say that you probably are getting a bet with right now with Sabalenka as being a small favorite. But I don't know. I just saw Mary Jo Fernandez make some comments on ESPN prior to this that it's really Sabalenka's to lose, and I think she sees that, and that might add added pressure. Where players of the years that we grew up in would thrive under this, knowing they had a chance to win and be better. I think people look at the trouble I see with the athlete of today is the expectations to win, the social media pressure adds to it, and it compiles on that person. Therefore, I think it becomes a little bit of a distraction more than it becomes a force ahead. I don't think there's the Michael Jordan mindset, the Kobe mindset of today's athlete, where I want to see it in a lot of them. I think Pat Mahomes has it in football. I don't know who I see in basketball with that mindset. Steph Curry probably comes from, going to end his career. LeBron did, but I don't think LeBron even had that mindset to win. I think he was just such a gifted athlete, durable, great player, physical specimen, and a great, thinker of the game. But I'm not sure the pressure got well because we all know that he's not great in final shot conversions and things like that. But I'm not going to take anything away from LeBron. He's been the top 5 players of all time, obviously. But again, luckily not to suffer a major injury. But yeah, that's to me that's kind of the big thing. And so on the men's bracket, you have Taylor Fritz playing right now up 2-1. I think he was down 5-0 in the third. I'm sure he lost that set against Kamanovich, and he lost 6-1. He's up 3-2 in the fourth. So looks like Taylor Fritz is going on to win. And then you have Alcaraz and Nori. But the other bracket is you have a potential injury to Sinner, who's got an MRI done on his elbow. And that could open the pathway for Novak Djokovic, who I think is in that mindset of the athlete that can win at all costs today. I think these young kids just hit a little harder, have a little bit more movement than him. But at 38, he is just he defies logic. And I think he's probably the best mindset of an athlete that there is today. But I like his chances if he gets to play Sinner, if Sinner wins his next match, if he gets to play Sinner, because I think it'll be just a very interesting matchup, and maybe the veteran under a not 100% Sinner would have a better chance. So we'll see what happens there. I think it's an Alcaraz tournament to lose. On the ladies' side, I think it's Sabalenka, but if not, I think Andreeva and the Andreeva Swiatek final semi will be the winner of this tournament. Just not sure. So we're gonna hit a baseball a little bit. 2-1 yesterday. We're going to go with today. We're looking at, the Marlins have a 10-game road winning streak on line tonight. Very interesting. Martinez and Perez kind of leaned with the Marlins. We'll take that. Dodgers and Brewers. We have probably an under 8.5 bet. I think that line's kind of high with Mazeroski and Kershaw. Thing is, Kershaw has had 8 or 9 overs in his starts. Dodgers not hitting, struggling with 4 losses in a row. Might like the Dodgers in this spot just with the young pitcher feeling a little pressure after getting beaten around against the Mets last week. Nationals, Cardinals. Nationals get a manager and GM change. I don't know if that opens the door. Sonny Gray's been pitching very good as a pitching change he gets for the Cardinals. Cardinals laying 200. Not sure about that game. Kelly and Pivetta in Arizona and San Diego. Pivetta laying 128. I'm kind of leaning toward the Diamondbacks. Look like they were starting to right the ship a little bit. Phillies and Giants. Rob Ray has had a lot of wins, but I had a great record against Phillies against Todd Walker. Might go over the 8 in that game. Both teams seem to be hit. The Rays and the Tigers. Tigers playing great ball, but Flaherty struggled. Pepio also struggling. Tough to bet that game. If I did, I'd lean the underdog. Mariners and the Yankees. Mariners are on a roll, playing very well. Yankees struggling. Like the Mariners as a dog getting 16 with Gilbert against Warren. Blue Jays were on a roll with the Blue Jays. Bassett against Cavalli, lay 183 with the Blue Jays. We're taking that. Cantillo and Brown, boy, tough game match. Might like the under in that game. Garner just not hitting. Astros lose 6-5 yesterday, 7-5 yesterday. Brown pitching well, struggled a little bit in Colorado last start, but pitchers do. Gets in their head. Now he's home. He's been lights out, like 185 with Houston. Rangers and Angels, Evaldi and Soriano. Getty Angels as a small dog, plus 103. Evaldi's been great. Don't know if I bet that. The Mets and the Orioles. Holmes laying 118 against Young for the Orioles. Orioles playing very good ball, get a sweep against the Braves. Don't know if I take the Mets in that game. Might lean Orioles. Red Sox and Freeland, who's a veteran pitcher, has been pitching a little bit better as of late against Bello, laying 233, kind of like the Red Sox. Don't want to lay 233. Cubs and Twins. Imanaga against Woods Richardson. Cubs laying 125, kind of a bet, but he got knocked around a little bit, but did come up with a win. Pirates and Royals. Keller's pitching very well against Lugo. Might like the under there, under 8. Braves and A's. Fuentes and Springs. I kind of like the A's in this game, plus 105. Fuentes getting beat around. Total 10.5. I might go over there also. So that's it for us today. We'll be back next week. Go Big Blue, and get excited for training camp. Get excited for the season. Like what we're seeing. Healthy roster. big things to come for the Giants. We'll talk to you next week.